Yo, Fight Game Media YouTube, what's going on? I'm with JD Oliva, and he just came back from the Nationals at Fargo, North Dakota. USA Wrestling. USA Wrestling puts it together, yeah?
Yeah, U.S. Wrestling.
So you just got back. You had some success. You were involved with it. So this isn't as much as a journalistic
No,
experience. This was you were on the television. I saw the picture. Flow Wrestling.
yeah, I was on someone, my friend Pete from Reattack and a nice little wrestling site. He coaches with me, and some guy tried to like out him, like this is you, and I'm like, hey, that's me. Also, I'm in this picture too. So I shared that on my social media and said my hair looked good in the finals. So yeah, no, I'm directly involved. I've been fortunate enough to be involved with the Team Illinois, the Illinois USA Wrestling branch system for the past 10 years,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm a coach in the system. I have a good time doing it.
So I guess before we get into the details, like let's kind of explain. I want you to explain how or why this is a big deal, especially in the American wrestling community. Like this is, I don't think people realize how much of an important deal this is, especially for high school wrestlers.
No, this is it. This is the national tournament. But what makes this different than most high school wrestling is this is a freestyle Greco tournament.
Mm.
Freestyle and Greco-Roman are the two styles that one will be able to see starting Sunday at the Olympics and in the World Championships. This is what's wrestled competitively throughout the planet. In America, we wrestle what we call folk style or collegiate style of wrestling. If you're an American and you've seen wrestling, there's a good chance what you've watched is folk style, and this is the US's big tournament to kind of push our international training systems. And what it really is, it's a combine for athletes to be discovered by college coaches. A lot of kids make or break their um, their scholarship situation, we'll call it, based on their performance at Fargo. So
Mm.
it's a really we in Team Illinois have a very are very fortunate enough that we have coaches from the colleges in our system. One of my closest friends, Brian Medlin, is the RTC coach for the University of Illinois. We also have Andrew Howe from Northwestern. We've got a couple of Division III coaches. Justin Perch from Aurora University, Division III coach. My buddy Don Moyer from my alma mater, Northern Illinois University. These guys are all college coaches, and they take the time to work with our team. And I know my buddy Tony Ramos from North Carolina. He coaches with Team Georgia because they're a pretty good team, and like it's like that. So you're going to see these college coaches, major level college coaches, will get themselves involved not just as recruiting, but to be on these coaching stats, so they get an inside look at the kids. Right, they get to know them on a personal level. They get to see what they're like, not only in competition but in the practice room.
So, and now let's talk about your involvement. So you were representing your high school that you're working at, DeKalb.
Mm-hmm. DeKalb High
Uh,
School. Yep.
So, what were some of, I guess, the highlights, and what was the experience for you like this year? Because this year is definitely not the typical year. And we were talking on our episode of High Tension last night. We were talking about there was definitely some rust in a lot of the players,
Yeah.
and it just seemed. What did you feel like? Did you have any like deja vu? And you were telling me right before we went on, you were like the first night was kind of rough for you guys. So, what was it like?
Yeah, well, we didn't have a tournament last year. The vast majority of the planet was kind of shut down in 2020. Um, Team Illinois is a model of success. It's when I say we're the most successful state program in the country, I'm not over exaggerating. We're in the mix in freestyle every year at the junior level specifically. Juniors is 17, 18-year olds, and then we have the cadets, which is the under 16 division, so the 15, 16-year olds of the cadets. We are usually very competitive in both divisions. When I say that, I mean juniors were since 2006. I want to say we were always in the top three for
So you
junior
guys always
freestyle.
place.
Always placed top three. Usually we win for junior freestyle. In Greco-Roman, we've won every junior national tournament since 2007.
And that happens to be your forte, your
I'm a Greco.
specialty.
I'm a Greco guy. I'm on the freestyle staff too, mainly because most of my kids are primarily freestyle wrestlers. Like I don't think DeKalb would have anyone wrestling Greco if I wasn't coaching there. And it's not like I forced them to. I just I like getting kids excited about going upper body and throwing people. It's what I do, and when I get to run the room, we do Greco, and it gets kids excited, and we'll have kids come out from other schools to train with us in the off season and stuff. So we're used to success in Illinois. In the cadet level, we've won Greco every year since 2013, and then same deal. We're usually in the mix in freestyle. This year, because our cadet, like in Illinois specifically, we pushed our folk style season. Folk style is usually like November to February in Illinois.
Mm.
Because of the COVID situation this year, our season was pushed back. So we had an abbreviated season that started in April. So when we would normally be training freestyle Greco, we were doing our folk style season. So the vast majority of our cadets never really had a developmental tournament. We usually have a camp. Our camp for Greco specifically is huge. It's where our, because we're a system, like Team Illinois Greco is a system program. We make sure the kids follow what we do. We win for a reason. We didn't have a chance to implement that system with our cadets for 2 straight years. We did regional training centers essentially this year. So our cadets didn't do great for us. They took fourth, and I believe we had fourth in freestyle, fifth in freestyle, fourth in Greco, which is pretty good for. I hate to sound cocky. It's pretty good for most states, but for Illinois, it's not what we're used to, and a lot of it's because the development didn't get in. On the junior level, those kids have been in the system for a while, and they were more well prepared, and so that was different, right? We were ready. Watching the tournament evolve, it was very obvious that there had not been a lot of Greco specific tournaments going on. I never saw, like in Greco, we can't use our legs, right? I never saw so many leg fouls. I never saw so much bad, sloppy Greco. I mean, American Greco is not great to begin with, to be honest with you. We haven't had a gold medal since, I'm blanking on the spot.
84.
84.
Alma mater.
Is it Blatnick? Is Blatnick the
been.
last? Jeez, Blatnick's the late great Jeff Blatnick's the last gold medalist we've had.
I'm trying to think.
Might be Adam Wheeler, might be the last Greco medalist we've had, and that's 2008. So I mean, the U.S. Greco is not good. U.S. freestyle is real good. U.S. freestyle is going to make a big name. The reason is because the transition from freestyle to folk style is much more seamless. It's not seamless, but it's much more translatable than folk style to Greco. It's just different. So our Greco kids, like not just my kids, not just Illinois kids, not just the Cal kids, across the country, it was sloppy. Like it's beneath the standards, I think, of what we're used to. But again, the kids really didn't get to do a whole lot. Even from the states that did get to train, they still missed a whole year leading into this. So it wasn't what we're used to. The junior division was better, but still not great. The officiating was bad because a lot of those guys weren't used to making the calls. You know, it was the mechanics were off. They missed stuff. You know, it led to a frustrating week in a lot of cases. My team specifically, we did all right. We had 2 finalists. The same kid, Ben Aranda, my 113 pounder. He made the finals in both freestyle and Greco. Was a runner-up in both. And then my 170 pounder, Bradley Gillen, took 7th at junior 170. And so that was, you know, I'm reasonably pleased with that. I'm proud to say DeKalb has put a kid from our team, 2 kids from our team have been in the finals at Fargo every year since 2017. So I'm pretty proud of that.
So you were talking about the layoff and not being able to, you want to implement your school's system. You want to get especially for the cadets who don't have the experience. But and I'm sure that played a part into how everybody did this year. But
it did.
Do you think in more of a macro sense, like taking a step back, you talked about like the sloppiness of some of the Greco-Roman stuff, some of the stuff that you saw in freestyle, you saw lots of leg fouls. Do you think that has anything to do with like, is it just general laziness, layoff, or is it like influence of other things like MMA, or is it just bad?
It's the layoff. It's the layoff. And for Greco specifically, how do I put this? There's a lot of people think Greco-Roman is grip it and rip it. Like you just get a hold of somebody and throw them, and it's not. It's position. Greco is a lot of position. It's a lot of small technique. And if you don't have the time and experience, like if you're a really good athlete, you can pick stuff up very, very quickly in Greco. But to get senior level good, right, there's a lot that you have to get good at. So it was a lot of grip it and rip it is what I saw. Not a lot of great fundamental technique on the cadet level specifically. It was better than the junior level, but it's always like that. Like the cadets are always worse than the juniors. Like placing in the junior tournaments way harder in both styles. So this year was I thought it was extra sloppy. Even in the junior level, it was a little sloppier than normal. It's the layoff. Like the kids who are wrestling, if you're wrestling Greco at Fargo, you like wrestling Greco-Roman. You have some type of a background in it. Your coaches are teaching you, even some of the smaller states that like Illinois, we roll deep. We bring in 200 plus kids every year to the tournament.
Ooh.
You like these states like Kentucky, Tennessee, like they're coming with a much. My buddy Kevon coaches at in Louisiana, and they brought like 20 this year. It's their biggest contingent ever. So I mean, but they're learning, like they're getting better. So that's just what it is. I mean, like it's everyone who's there knows, like they had to get there. Like every state has a qualification process. Like you don't just, hey, I'm going to go to Fargo. Like there's some hoops you have to jump through. In Illinois, we have tournaments. You have multiple tournaments. You have to qualify to make the team. So the kids kind of know what they're doing for the most part, but this year is it's COVID pretty much. Like it's next year, I imagine things would be a lot better.
You mentioned that note about like having to qualify, and that's one of the huge differences between wrestling and say like a lot of martial arts, especially Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where as long as you got this, you can fight.
Yeah.
And
So
a
like
lot
that.
of companies, yeah, it just came up different. So, a lot of people talk about wanting MMA or BJJ to be more of like an Olympic sport, but it's like there's so much on the not on the technique or, fighting end of it, the business end of it. It's so different. And I think that
It's yeah. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling have evolved in very, very different places. Like, I remember I was doing a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I was competing in judo. And like, oh, we'll put you in some white belt tournaments. It'll be great. And I'm like, white belt? My ego, a
yeah,
white
no,
belt
I hear you.
tournament. And then they're like, oh, the white belt tournaments are good. Team sandbag. And they get these guys that have been doing it for a long time doing white belt stuff. And I was just like blown away to hear that.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's just
normal.
like, it's for me, that's like shocking. Like
I
you would
was
never.
I was designated as that once as the experienced white belt to try, and I still lost. So
I mean,
sorry,
it's
Max.
tough. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is tough. It's like I said, it's we. I mean, like I'm not gonna pretend to say we aren't financially driven in a lot of cases. I mean, like we got a lot of we. It costs money to do what we do, but you gotta. It's funny. You got to pay a lot of money. You got to have your club card. You got to qualify for the team, and then you got to pay to go to Fargo. This year was a lot cheaper again because of the COVID and because of our restrictions. But normally, like, cost you $50 for a card, maybe 20, $30 to go to the tournament, and then hey, congratulations, you owe us $800. So I mean, like, it's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, but also on the other hand, I feel like wrestling gets the more they have the prestige of being a sport where something like BJJ is more treated still as this niche
Yeah,
kind of. It's a sport, like to me, it's a sport,
it
but
is
some
sport.
people view it like a hobby. Like I'm gonna go snowboarding on the weekend, and I invest all this money in my. Some people, I think it's more so here in the States.
Yes.
I don't know if this is more of a new thing to me, but seeing the guys at the gym, maybe with wrestling too, they're dressed up. They got the new rash guard, they got the spats, they got all their tape on their fingers, but they've only been to like two lessons or two practices.
This is the difference between wrestling and BJJ is like, for the most part, like we have this like in wrestling we have this funnel system, right? At the very top are the senior level guys, and after that below it gets bigger below. Like we start with a lot of kids, and then you go into high school, then you go into college, and then you go to the senior level, right? Whereas in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, it seems like there's a lot of adults that will take it up and will do it recreationally. Ain't nobody wrestling for
True.
recreation. Like we just don't. You just don't. Like when
I,
you're
I
done.
did that when I moved to Portland, though. I joined the wrestling club here because there
I know
was a
you told me that, and that's like you're like the one dude I've ever heard of in my whole life that did that.
I wanted. Well, I was more active when I came back from the states. Or no, sorry, I was in the states for like 4 months after I moved back, and when I came back, I had time off, so I was at Hensel Gracie in Latham with Bruno Tostes, and it was just go to their competition teams, classes, come over here, and another thing is like some of the stuff is so expensive, like
Yeah.
Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, like if they're teaching the same things, I don't know how it is in wrestling, but I don't know how you could teach the same exact things and charge like two hundred
Um,
dollars more.
it's still like I have friends that have clubs, right, and they charge. I can't say they don't charge what is deserved, because you get results, you get good coaching. Like we have, Israel Martinez here. You know him, like John Jones's wrestling coach. He's got an amazingly successful club out here in Illinois. He's probably the best. Yeah, no, definitely the best and most accomplished wrestling coach in our state. And his club ain't cheap, and I know it's well worth it. Like you get. you get results. I mean, for me, we focus on decal. Like my job is not to and neither of the guys I coach with, our job is not to, train everybody make a living. I don't make, like, I get my stipend for the season. Like this stuff I'm doing, I just do it to do it. That's my hobby. Like I don't golf, right? I don't play tennis. I coach wrestling. So for me, I care about, the kids who live off I-88 in the birthplace of barbed wire. Like I care about the DeKalb High School kids. So that's what I do. But I mean, like if you're going to pay money for a big club, and if you're going to the right club, you should be successful because you're going to have great partners and great coaches. So just for us, we're focusing on our school.
Is that true? DeKalb, that city is the birthplace of barbed wire?
Yes, it is. It's one
I'm
of our town.
You got to set up a match, man, for your kids.
So we are in
second place. You are going into the barbed wire ring.
We are in fact the DeKalb Barbs. That is our team name.
Oh, Barbs, like
we
the
are
Barbs?
The Barbs. 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 We are like barbed wire.
That's like the name of the lady at the bingo hall. Hey,
yes,
Barbs.
Yes, it is. That's what we. That's. Hey, I didn't come up.
That's okay. I've heard way worse.
Oh
like
yeah,
a barb is something that's like attacking.
We wrestled the Freeport Pretzels this year.
Pretzels?
Pretzel Factory in Freeport, Illinois.
That's like when I played Little League and we had to be named after the sponsor.
Yeah.
D'Agostino's Construction.
It's yeah. There's some
pizza parlors. But okay, so before we wrap, I want to give me your like top 1, 2, 3 highlights, because there was one highlight you sent me. We're talking about Greco-Roman, about upper body moves. You sent me this bulldog takeover, like a headlock takeover.
It's a headlock, what we call it. So the headlock is the most controversial move in amateur wrestling, because little kids learn it and they think that's all they need to know for the rest of time, and because it's very successful when you're a young kid. So there's a lot of coaches that are incredibly anti-headlock, where they will not teach it. It's a garbage move. I teach it because, especially in Greco, it's effective. But again, you can't live and die in it. My 13-pounder Ben Aranda was in the semifinals, and he was down 7-0. And 8 points is a tech fall, or like slaughter rule. I'm sorry, 10 points is a tech fall, slaughter rule in Greco. So Ben was about to give that up. He's down by 7, and he got into his 2-on-1 position, and the kid grabbed his head and pulled on it. It's exactly what we trained. It was exactly what we trained, and he didn't hesitate. He just let that headlock rip and sent the kid for a ride, got the pin, sent himself into the finals. So it was an awesome moment. Like that was for me, like top 5 all-time Fargo moments. Like I loved seeing it.
What did you do when how did you react when
Jumped
you saw this?
up into the air, pumped my fist. I said a lot of words. I don't remember what those words exactly were. My emotions I'm a pretty emotional coach. So I mean, like, I'm always jumping up and down or pumping my fists or like getting fired up. So yeah, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. If you see the kid, he points to me in the corner.
That was a cool. It was a cool spot to use pro wrestling parlance.
It's very much the headlock I teach. It's very similar to a pro wrestling headlock, like the headlock takeover. We use an arm. It's the only difference. It's illegal if you don't use the arm.
Do you ring on it like yeah? You're wearing them down. No. No chin lock, rear chin lock.
No, the rear chin lock is in fact not a thing. It's not a real move.
My chin is locked.
It's funny, we call it a headlock. You're not actually locking the head, like especially we teach you. You're pulling on the arm and you're throwing that arm across, and like the force and momentum of you throwing across and sagging your hips and takes the guy over. You don't actually lock the head until he's on the ground when you're trying to pin a guy.
It really, when you do it, it could feel like a dirty judo move.
Like, it's very similar. It is. Oh shoot! I used to know the Japanese term for it's oguruma, I believe.
Oguruma, yeah.
Oguruma.
Ogurumi or something.
Something like that. Yeah. That's the judo equivalent to the wrestling headlock. But yeah, that was really cool. You know, we do Greco. We do a lot of headlocks and arm spins, arm throws. So it's cool stuff.
Oh, and also before we wrap, you're going to be doing some coverage on the website, Fight Game Media. So on Sunday, the Olympic wrestling tournament begins. We had the trials. What were in April?
Trials were in April. We have a very, very long break between the qualification process and the actual tournament in the U.S. Like we qualify our team super early. A lot of this because we have to wrestle in the Olympics. you not only do you have to qualify for the team, but your weight class has to qualify.
How does that
So,
work?
well, you have to, your weight has to have scored X number of points in various tournaments across the country, across the
For your
globe. Excuse me.
school?
No, it's the
Oh,
country.
oh, okay.
It's
Wow.
the country. Like Kyle Dake, I believe his weight class didn't have to qualify because Jordan Burroughs, I believe, qualified the weight class. So you got guys that aren't even the representative who have a chance to qualify a weight or who have qualified the weight based on performances in various tournaments. Like the Olympics supports wrestling, but they don't like supporting wrestling. So they
Which is
don't.
so ironic because it's like, isn't that what you think of when you think of wrestling? Like in
Me,
that
yes,
sense,
it's exactly what I
it's
think
like the
of, but
main sport. I
it's,
don't know.
well, I like to think of it as that, but I mean, like, yeah, it's they make it difficult. They want the tournament to be as small as possible, so you have to jump through a lot of hoops because like you see this a lot. You see this a lot in the former Soviet bloc countries because the Russians, the unaffiliated team this year,
ROC, they
the
are called.
ROC team, yes, they're still
Russian
going to do.
Olympic Russian Olympic Committee is what they're
Yes,
officially called.
yes, they're still going to win a lot of medals.
They're already
Back
doing pretty well, yeah.
Yeah, they're because they're Russia. Uh, to make the Russian freestyle, no Greco too. To make those teams, you got to be really, really good. Like the Russians are the best. They're the best. It's usually between us, them, and like Iran. Those are the top three countries. And
India, how does India do these days?
decent. They don't. If they have a good guy, he's usually pretty good. But they rarely field a full team.
I know it's way more popular than we realize, like
Oh yeah,
Greco-Roman, like just among the common people. Like I
in
saw
India.
this, I was doing some project and I saw a crazy stat where it was like, it is the most, that cricket and maybe something else. Those are the most popular sports.
Same in Iran. Most
Yeah.
popular sport in Iran is freestyle wrestling. I went to the 2010 and 2011 World Championships, and that was in Moscow and oh shoot, where was that? Istanbul, and the Iranian fans rolled deep. Like
Hmm.
they were the loudest. They were like, if an Iranian wrestler's on the mat, they're chanting, they're clapping, Iran, Iran, the whole match. Like they got a
Nice.
lot of money and they love wrestling. So those are the top three. And then but then as I had a point, Russia. Oftentimes, if you can't make the team in Russia, you go defect. You all of a sudden become a Georgian or not an
Right.
Azerbaijani. Azerbaijan's pretty dang good on their own, but I mean you'll see that frequently. Like you'll see a lot of guys will defect to Turkmenistan or Armenia, like these smaller former Soviet bloc countries that they give them an opportunity to wrestle. And you'll see it in the U.S. too. Like Puerto Rico's best wrestler is Franklin Gomez, and he's pretty much from here. I believe he's from Florida, and he was a national champion at Michigan State. But because of our rules, he gets to wrestle, for Puerto Rico. I believe it's Miles Amin from the University of Michigan will wrestle for San Martino, and Stefan Micic is going to wrestle for, I believe it's Ukraine, and he wrestles for the University of Michigan. He's from Indiana, so I mean, you have opportunities. If it's hard because it's hard to make the U.S. team, it's hard to make the Russian team, and if you can qualify the weight class and you're not, I think it's if your grandparents are from the country, you
Grandparents,
can,
that's right.
yeah, you can go wrestle for a different country. It's
Um,
it's interesting.
I think for the fans, and I think for everybody, it's better because you're going to get more even matches. If you, nobody wants to see one. I mean, sometimes there's a dominant team, a dream team, but it seems when that,
That Russian team this year, man, I'll tell you what, they're good.
I mean, and not just wrestling either, they're doing well. But also, and a big difference between a country like Russia and us is that they have a lot of state sponsored money going into these programs,
Yes,
like way
tons,
more.
tons.
And that definitely makes a difference. It also makes a difference when you're doping the athletes too. But when you
Well,
take that out, but even still, like the facility, like you, I think you said
mhm.
you or your your
My
colleagues
buddy, my
went to
friend,
Georgia,
no, he went to North Ossetia. My buddy
North
Brian Medlin,
Ossetia, yeah.
he goes to North Ossetia every year. He takes a
Mm,
contingent of people from the University of Illinois, and they stayed, I want to say, for like 2 weeks a year, or 2 weeks at various points in the year. And he's gotten to the point where, like, he knows his way around North Ossetia, and this is like, as we talked about on some stuff we've done for the site. North Ossetia is one of, I believe it's North Ossetia and Dagestan are like the two hubs of Russian wrestling. and that's where everyone good comes from. Like, so you have like world level champions at basically every level, like, from the kids all the way through. Like, you'll have, multiple time world and Olympic champions and medalists, like they're just working in the club, and that's what you do. Like, if you're on the team, like, you're training, like you live, like you go to practice every day, right? And then if you, I believe the when I was in there when I was in Moscow in 2010, I believe the word going around was, and I probably still say today, you win a gold medal, the state will pay you $1 million. If you're successful
Wow.
enough, the state will take care of you forever. Like,
That's much different from here.
it is. I mean, like, I'll tell you what, over the last decade, the U.S. has gotten a lot better, wrestling specifically, at taking care of their athletes, but still not quite that. Yeah.
Hmm. So, yeah, so that'll start this weekend. So if you're watching this week, be on the lookout on the website. Probably some YouTube videos. I want to get it on this too. I want to watch. I've been trying to search, and we were talking about it last night on
Mm-hmm.
High Tension. But do you have any predictions for the Olympics this year? There's no Jordan Burroughs, so that's kind of like
No, Kyle
everybody's
Dake.
go-to. Kyle Dake, yeah.
Kyle Dake won the spot, and he's won 2 world titles, and Kyle's won them in a spot where he's won it in off weights, so it's like a weight that is not represented in the Olympics. He's won
Oh,
2 world titles, so he made the cut to Russell Burroughs, and he made the team. So he's technically a two-time world champion. Not technically, he is a two-time world champ coming in, but because it's a different weight, he's probably not going to get seated.
uh,
So, like, there was a gag today. There was a UWW Creative, which is like a joke Twitter feed, put out like brackets today, and they were like the worst possible draws. And like everybody was like, "Oh my god, we're gonna get killed!" Like, and it was a gag because it was just like everything that could possibly go wrong. They printed it, and it was they're gonna be tough. Like, we're not gonna have a lot of guys get seated. I think Gable Stevenson's gonna do really, really well, but he's not gonna get seated. He just doesn't have the accolades right now at that senior level to do it. He's gonna have to get through a very tough Turk Akul, and he could win a gold, or he could lose. It's tough. You have to get pulled back into the wrestlebacks or the repertoire round. So you got to lose to, I want to say, a finalist. I forget off the top of my head, but you got to lose to either a finalist or, yeah, you got to lose to a finalist to get a wrestleback. So I mean, the draw is important. Like, if you have a bad match right out of the way and that guy loses, you're done. It's a fun trip, you know.
so you'll be kind of guiding us through this
Mm-hmm.
next week, and I'm kind of excited to see what happens because I mean, of course, I don't think the Olympics should have happened this year, but now that they're going on, they're doing what they can.
That is a fight that I know people were fighting, and I've been trying to tell. Like, I was telling Garrett from our site, and I was telling people, like, the Olympics going to happen. I said, guys, these are going to happen. They're not.
Hmm.
They're not going to push them. And people weren't, like, I've had so many conversations to people like, oh no, I don't know. I'm like, I'm telling you guys, they're going to happen. Like, they don't care. They're going to happen. I told you guys they're going to happen, and here we are. They're happening. So, embrace it, because I'm not there.
And it'll be weird with no crowd too, because none of
It's
these
super
sports
weird.
have had. I've been watching the volleyball and beach volleyball, and without a crowd, it's pretty. I mean, you hear
Super weird.
everything they say, but it's just.
It's super weird. Like, but it is what it is. Like I said, we've
Yeah.
gotten. I like to think that after 18 months of no crowds in professional wrestling, I've gotten used to this.
Hmm.
So for me, it won't be that big of an adjustment. I'm just going to focus on the quality. Like, there's some really good stories going on. Our freestyle team is one of the best like our men's freestyle team is literally one of the best freestyle teams I think we've put across in decades. Like, this is a team that could medal at every weight. They could not too, but I love top to bottom. I'm like, you know what? This is a good team. This is a team that is full of world medalists. Like, it is
And
full of guys that have won world titles. Our women's team is really good. Are they going to beat
Helen, what's her
Japan?
name?
Helen Maroulis, yeah,
Helen
she's
Maroulis. Yeah.
fantastic. Sarah Mensa Stock, Sarah Hildebrand, like, you've got some hammers. Adeline Gray, like, you've got some hammers this year. Are they gonna beat Japan? If they don't do it with this team, I don't know if we can ever. Like, like, we're that good where I think they can challenge Japan. Greco, different story. Giangelo Hancock, I think he has a real good shot at medaling. Other than that, I think the Greco team is still in the process of rebuilding, so that's going to take some time. But I think the two freestyle programs, I think we look really good. I think they look really, really good. I'm very excited to talk about it for the site.
Cool. I'm looking forward to hearing it. It's kind of like because it's not on TV like AEW Dynamite is every week or
Mm-hmm.
something. Um, if you're not in it like you are, it's easy to fall out of it and see
Oh yeah.
hey, I'm sure a lot of people are going to tune in and go, hey, where the hell is Jordan Burroughs this year?
If someone catches fire, like, and it's possible, David Taylor's won world titles. There's no there's no reason why he can't have a great performance. There's no reason why Gable Steveson, like, he has been so good at everything. Like,
Possibly NXT bound Gable Stevenson someday.
we'll say, like, we'll put it like this: with the new NCAA rules, right, where athletes can get endorsements. If that man does not return to the University of Minnesota wearing a WWE T-shirt, there is a problem, right? Gable is a fantastic. He's definitely the best athlete we've ever had wrestling heavyweight at this level. And the kid is unreal right now. But he's gonna have his work cut out for him because he's beaten some man. He just decimated the NCAAs, and he tacked a returning world medalist in Nick Wzdowski at the trials. But he's gonna have his work cut out for him, man, at the Olympic Games. But he's that good. Where, if I tell someone in the club, like, tell somebody that's in the clique, hey, Gable's gonna win the Olympic title. They're like, yeah, I think so. It's not crazy to say that that's possible. There's so many people I think could make legitimate runs. Now, will the world cooperate? Will COVID cooperate? I don't know, but I mean, just as far as getting guys in the mat and knocking heads, like, I think we stand a good chance.
So I guess that it'll be like a to be continued from now. So
Yeah,
keep your eyes peeled to this channel here. Keep your eyes peeled on the Fight Game Media webpage, fightgamemedia.com. And this has been a kind of guerrilla edition of High Tension for you. So I guess for JD, I'm Justin. We'll see you soon. We'll see you probably next week talking about the Olympics, and we'll talk some more wrestling. All right? So thanks, everybody.